Perfect. Welcome to Dirty Fanatics United.
Falcon fans, Falcon Nations, welcome back to another episode of Dirty Fanatics United. As I am your host here, C Money, followed by my co-host tonight, Cody, here to bring you some breaking news. The Atlanta Falcons have officially hired their head coach for the 2026 season and 5 years to come. Kevin Stefanski, the new head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. Cody, we will dive straight into that real quick, as we always do. What's going on, man? We had a podcast last night with the awesome guy, Mike Johnson. If you're tuning in now and you're new to the channel, check out last night's episode. Mike Johnson, former NFL player, Matt Ryan teammate, was here with DFU. Cody, what's going on, man? How do you feel about this Kevin Stefanski hire? As you know, the hiring process drug out. DFU was a big fan of Clinton Kubiak, as a lot of Falcon fans were. The Atlanta Falcons today announced they will interview Kevin Stefanski for the second interview, being the first candidate to interview 2 times, which the Atlanta Falcons kind of, as you could say, cop blocked the Tennessee Titans to get Kevin Stefanski back to the building to talk about signing this guy and completing the deal. And Kevin Stefanski, the guy, Matty Ice, his first ever hire here in Atlanta. Kevin Stefanski, the contract looks to be around $100 million from what Google says. Cody, your thoughts on the signing of Kevin Stefanski, and who knows, we may even drop the link tonight and get some fans in here and get the reactions of the hire. Cody, what you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, I think we were all kind of fan of Clinton Kubiak. I know Mike was, Mike even said that, he'd been rallied around that. And, I was with Mike on that. However, I think that it's not a bad hire, guys. It's not the end of the world. I understand that the record wasn't great. I understand the playoff record wasn't fantastic. But look at what he did do. He took the Cleveland Browns, of all teams, to their first playoff appearance since, I think it was like 2000, 2002. Got him their first playoff win since 1994. His team's also, and I think this goes big with, we all want to keep Tyler Algier here in the building. And Stefanski teams – finished in the top of the NFL. I think it was like 5 out of 3 or 3 out of 5 years that his teams finished in the top 5 or 6 in total rushing yards. So that looks good as far as, for all of us that want to keep Tyler. Maybe this is a way that you get to keep Tyler and tell Tyler, hey, look, we've got a guy in here that knows how to handle 2 backs that can keep you around and keep you, working. And maybe that's what keeps Tyler here in Atlanta.
You absolutely could be right, Cody, but it also could be Kyle Pitts' reason to go ahead and exit out the building. Stefanski may want that. I mean, Stefanski's played with a Njoku for the last several years in Cleveland, a guy that is tremendous at the tight end position. So there's a lot of shakeups that happen. Mike Johnson made a great comparison last night with Chris Lindstrom about being the right size for a Kevin Stefanski offensive line. And real quick, man, that kind of just brings back to a topic that as soon as the Falcons hired this cat, I straight to ChatGPT just to see what the analytics of this hire looked like for the Atlanta Falcons. And I just simply asked, was Kevin Stefanski the right hire for the Atlanta Falcons? His offensive minded. He was the Browns head coach in 2020 to 23, turning the Browns around quickly in 2020. The Browns went 11-5 and made the playoffs for the first time in 18 seasons. The quarterback obviously was Baker Mayfield, had high numbers early on, and while his offensive system is strong, it leans on structured run-heavy schemes. Hint Bijan, Tyler Algier. Also says the play-action pass is a strong point of what Kevin Stefanski brings to the Atlanta Falcons. Team culture known for being detail-oriented, professional, and calm under pressure. Players generally respect him. It says the Falcons situation, the Falcons have instability at both the GM and Falcon head coach positions, plus a developing roster led by it says the led by the worst quarterback possibly, Kirk Cousins. They read a coach who can install discipline, development young talent, and improve an inconsistent offense, which the Falcons have been completely inconsistent when it comes to offense performances this past year. Not a game where really you could say, hey, the Atlanta Falcons played a full 4 quarters of offense. And Cody, I think you could agree to that. You were at every home performance. I think the Atlanta Falcons went 3 to 4 home games in the Benz this season. Cody, just speak on that. Kevin Stefanski, the veteran coach that the Atlanta Falcons bring in the building to correct this thing, as the title is tonight, Falcons hire Kevin Stefanski. Is this the coach that finally fixes Atlanta? Cody, your thoughts?
Well, I think the big word there is stability. And I think that's one thing the Falcons have lacked over, even while Matt Ryan was here, constantly switching offensive coordinators, constantly switching head coaches. The longest tenured head coach was Mike Smith, and he was here, from 08 to, I believe, to 15, 14. So I think that's kind of the good news, guys, is that we're not hiring a first-time head coach. We're hiring a guy that is got the experience that this team has not had at the head coaching, level. I mean, other than Mike Smith, and even Mike Smith, I'm pretty sure he came right straight out of a defensive coordinator position. So did, Dan Quinn. Arthur Smith came out of an offensive coordinator position. And then you had Raw that was a defensive, coach. So I think this kind of brings stability back to the head coaching department. You've got a guy that's done it before. You have a guy that made the Cleveland Browns relevant there for a while. Like, I understand that they struggled this year, but look at their quarterback situation. Again, I think to Robert's point that he made while Mike was on, I think a lot of his problem was the front office just being too involved and just meddling too much. And I think that may have been his problem. It's hard to run a football team when you've got guys up top constantly, too many chefs in the kitchen is the best way to explain it. So I think this definitely brings consistency again back to our head coaching position. And again, it also helps with the fact that, hey, Michael Penix is now going into, I would guess technically year 3, but really year 2, given the injury and starting the last 3 or 4 games, the prior year. So again, it keeps you from having to constantly switch things and change things and learn new systems and learn new schemes. So I'm excited about it. Like I say, I'm not going to sit here and lie and be like, yeah, that was my guy, because it wasn't. Clint Kubiak was. But I don't have a problem with this hire.
Yep. So back to the ChatGPT situation, the verdict of that was it's a reasonable, promising hire, especially if the Falcons want stability and a coach who develops young talent. He's not a guaranteed Super Bowl coach, but he's much better than a gamble on an unproven name or someone known for losing a locker room or for someone losing the locker room under control of the locker room. So it also says here the success will depend heavily on the roster construction. The Atlanta Falcons will need a better offensive line play and skill positions to maximize his system. So when it comes to, that player carousel, however that may shake out here in Atlanta, you may lose some of your big names, as Mike Johnson named a very huge one, Chris Lindstrom, which is a name that we don't expect to lose, but man, if you did, because it didn't fit that scheme, you know what I mean? I'm sure you get a nice value for Chris Lindstrom. I'm sure it's decent enough. But, headed to some topics that we was going to talk about tonight, Cody. It's one of the first topics is why the Falcons chose Stefanski over other top candidates. We kind of spoke on it, the veteranship of what he brings to Atlanta, the offensive-minded. One of the key points that David stated he wanted here on the podcast for the Atlanta Falcons offensively was a offensive veteranship head coach in Atlanta, and that's kind of what the Atlanta Falcons went out and grabbed, as Matt Ryan did have some kind of ties to Stefanski. I'm not sure where those ties came about, but we will have a presser, I'm sure, tomorrow morning or tomorrow around lunch. The Atlanta Falcons will probably address that. But Cody, that brings me to an equation or to a question that I have for you. What is your thoughts of the Atlanta Falcons? In chat, answer this, please. We have 33 live viewers right now. I think, let's see, 26 of those on Twitter, 6 of those on YouTube. So, guys, please chime in on this question. Your thoughts about the Atlanta Falcons hiring the head coach before the GM? Or is it a situation where it's Ian Cunningham or Josh Williams? Josh Williams just today eliminated from the playoffs. Ian Cunningham still in the playoffs. But still, how do you feel about hiring the head coach before the GM?
Man, I really don't think it matters because you got Matt Ryan in here first. And I think that was probably the more important hire to do first was obviously the president of football situation. I think this probably gives Stefanski a little bit of a say in who his GM might be. Now, there are also rumors that the Falcons have a GM in, that's already been in kind of working with Matt and getting that stuff done. Honestly, I don't know that it really matters if your GM or your head coach comes in first. It could not, but I think this gets Matt and Stefanski a chance to sit down, like you say, maybe our guy's still in the playoffs. Maybe he just got eliminated tonight. Maybe it's somebody else. But I think it's good that, now the head coach that clearly, as Matt said, I saw Matt had some words about, his vision in lines with what the team's ultimate goal is and all this stuff. So now with Matt and Stefanski maybe working together, you get that GM hire, get that right so he can get the players in that he wants and needs to fit his system. And, maybe it works out for the best. Like I say, I don't know how important, hired a GM before a head coach or vice versa really is in the NFL, but I don't see it being a problem.
So, Cody, the news broke that the Atlanta Falcons would possibly be able to retain defense coordinator Jeff Ulbrich with the Kevin Stefanski hire. Your thoughts on that? And sorry for the lag, as I can see clearly I'm lagging terribly right now on my side of the screen. But, Cody, your thoughts of Jeff Ulbrich being able to retain with the Atlanta Falcons and still roll with this young defense that he had such a big part in? Not to forget, the leading sack record was broke this year under Jeff Ulbrich and these young cats on the defense.
Well, yeah, I think it comes back to the word that I'm going to start using a lot is consistency. It's something that the Falcons have lacked, and it's, for Coach Brick to turn this defense around, if that was the deciding, thing between Clint and between not Kubiak, between Stefanski was, Clint was like, no, I want to bring in my own guys, and Stefanski was like, hey, I saw what Brick did. I don't mind it. Let him come back. Then good, because I don't want to see this defense regress, because I think we got the guys in here. Mike talked a lot about it felt, sometimes it feels like we've got guys that don't fit what we're trying to do. But as far as the defense go, obviously we do. This defense meshes really well. They worked real good with Coach Brick. Obviously, we finally found a way to get to the quarterback, broke the Falcons, all-time sacks, in a season. You've got, Jalen Walker with the second most sacks amongst rookies, with 5.5. You've got, James Pierce Jr., who leads, I'm pretty sure didn't he lead the NFL with 10? No, I don't think he led the NFL, but I know for sure he led, all rookies with, 10. I think he finished with 10.5. So, I mean, why would you want to bring in somebody that would get rid of that? Because, again, I think that's something that Matt Ryan and his teams focuses on is going to be that consistency, because Matt, was on the end of constant change and constant, having to relearn and changing offensive coordinators and changing head coaches. And I think Matt understands that consistency is going to be huge for this team. Is going to be absolutely huge for this team going forward. And so if that keeps Brick in the, if the hiring of Stefanski meant we get to keep Coach Brick, I'm all for it.
Yep. So, Cody, we talked about a lot of situations that all season about would Penix be healthy to start the season. The rumors, Mr. David seemed to think that maybe Penix could be healthy enough to start the season. But now, Mike Johnson and David did talk last night and brought up a good topic about the fact of it is a new scheme. It is a new role here in Atlanta. OTAs would have to run through somebody else learning this new scheme. Cody, with the hire of Kevin Stefanski, what quarterback kind of just grabs you? And also, chat, This link right here is a link for you to hit. If you guys want to come on the podcast, just be respectful. That's all I ask. Give your opinion, your honest opinion, as we respect everybody's opinion here at DFU. Hit that link, man, and let's talk some Falcon football and give your topic or your expression of how you feel about this hire. Cody, your question, how do you feel about Kevin Stefanski and who could play quarterback in that style of offense?
Well, the funny thing is Stefanski has a relationship with Kirk Cousins. Now, I tend to be on the fence of Kirk is probably gone. I think that's why he restructured. So that's still a question that I think needs to be answered. I still think you're going to have to go get a bridge quarterback, whether that be maybe like a Sam Darnold, Joe Flacco, somebody like that. I think you're gonna have to, because I know David is very optimistic that Penix is going to be back and ready in time for all that stuff. I don't see it. Tearing your ACLs is just a different monster.
So Cody, could the Joe Flacco scenario actually happen in Atlanta? We talked about it earlier this season. You mentioned Joe Flacco as a contestant, that if, even before we knew Kevin Stefanski would be hired, you were cool with a bridge quarterback in Joe Flacco. Now the ties here from the Cleveland Browns with Kevin Stefanski and Joe Flacco played meaningful football down in Cleveland when he was the quarterback. So, situations that could happen here in Atlanta, who knows what could shake out as far as quarterback position. As I'm looking at the list here, it says potentially veteran potential starters / bridges, Aaron Rodgers, Jameis Winston, Sam Darnold, Russell Wilson, backup competitor options, Marcus Mariota, Joe Flacco, Jimmy Garoppolo, which Mike Smith spoke about last night with the Jimmy Garoppolo situation. So there's a lot of situations that could happen. But Cody, you talked about Tyler Algier and the significance of if you could keep Tyler Algier in this offensive scheme. Nick Chubb's Tyler Algier just screams familiarity for me when it comes to Kevin Stefanski and that style of offense. $2.5 million was the estimated amount. Cody, your thoughts on if you're able to retain a Tyler Algier here in Atlanta and extend him another 2 years or so here to see what he has left to prove in Atlanta?
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I'm a huge fan of Tyler. I think Tyler belongs here in Atlanta, especially if you can't, like you said, Chubb and Tyler do, you kind of have like a 1A, 1B kind of reflection of one another. And I think that, may have gone into the hiring decision is that, hey, like you don't want to get rid of that 1-2 punch in Tyler and Bijan. And I think Stefanski can bring out the best in having both backs here. And like Mike said, for $2.6 million, sign me up all day for that. That's easy money to be the guy that comes in after Bijan. I think Stefanski runs an offense that Tyler can shine in, and to me, that's huge. Like I say, I love Bijan. I think Bijan's the dude. He's obviously, for, my money, he's the best, not only the best running back in pro football, but probably the best player in the NFL, period. But it's always nice to have that Tyler Algier guy that when it's, the fourth quarter and teams are tired and Bijan has carried the ball 25 times, that you have a Tyler Algier that you can call on to come in and clean up and finish up games. Tyler's a tone setter, man. And if you can keep him around in a Kevin Stefanski system where he can really thrive, man, it's going to be good.
So, Cody, here's the real question, and a question that a lot of Falcon fans are going to be asking around the league, and not only around the league but in the building itself. The Atlanta Falcons fans, the guys that pay for those season ticket holder seats, that go to those games every single Sunday, game in and game out, whether it's home or away. What could the Atlanta Falcons, in your mind, expect in year one with Kevin Stefanski? Is this a Super Bowl-bound team, or is it realistically a team that just stays afloat, maybe lands another 9-7 or 8-9 season here in Atlanta, or whatever it may be? what is your expectations for the Atlanta Falcons? And as soon as you answer that question, we have a special guest in the backstage ready to talk some Falcon football. So, Cody, in kind of a nutshell, what could you expect year one for Kevin Stefanski in Atlanta?
Well, I definitely don't think it mattered who you hired. I don't think we were Super Bowl bound the first year, but that second year, definitely I could see that. I mean, my expectations don't change no matter who the hire would have been. It would be, you have a winning record first and foremost. You win the NFC South, which is doable. We should have won it this year. We were, either beat the Jets, Patriots, so on and so forth. Everybody knows the scenario at this point. To get in the playoffs, man, at this point, I don't care if it's by winning the South or you just win in based off of your record. Just get in. So I think that's what you can expect is a team that's more organized, more consistent, and makes that playoff push, whether that be deep or whether that being, just get in though. Give me a shot. Give me a chance, to see us in the playoffs again.
Falcon fans, hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe if you're new to the channel. We have Atlanta Falcons Fandemic here to talk some Falcon football. Fandemic, what's going on, brother? Glad to have you here tonight. The Atlanta Falcons announced Kevin Stefanski is the new head coach here in Atlanta. Says they will possibly retain Jeff Ulbrich under this regime. Fandemic, your thought on the Atlanta Falcons head coach decisions, Matt Ryan's first ever hire here in Atlanta?
And first off, long time, gentlemen, long time.
Man.
It's been a minute.
Good seeing you.
I think it's going to be important to see how we continue developing, right? I mean, Jeff Ulbrich obviously has done a great job with the defense and developing our young rookies who's come in and made a huge pack on this defense and actually have the defense looking top 5, something that we haven't seen in a while. But what's going to be important, very important, I don't care. And let me first say that I'm not fully in with this, this Stefanski thing. That's just my honest opinion.
Fair enough.
But what's going to be very important is who will the offensive play caller is going to be. That's going to be the key. And two, how we continue to grab players to fill in that's going to be able to make a contribution to, like Cody was saying, getting into the playoffs, getting back to in contention, into the division. But this offensive play calling has to change. We've been far too predictable for years, and that's something that really has to change. And what they do in the preseason, as far as free agency draft. It's going to be very important, very important. We still got a lot of holes to fill. We definitely need that man in the middle on defense. We still need some help at the CB2 level. Now we thought we had answers, but now we need players to come in and play the wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, because right now both of those are suspect. I mean, the only thing that's solidified really is Drake London. But and as far as Tyler Algier goes, I think we're going to be able to retain him because there's going to be a lot of money left. I think the one key player that we really have to get rid of as far as this cap goes is Troy Anderson. I mean, he's $5 million hit. And to be honest, man, he has to go. I mean, we always say the best asset of any player is availability. So
no ties to the new GM or head coach here.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, that's going to be key. I mean, the offensive coordinator play caller position, it's going to have to be filled with the right person. I mean, the head coaching thing it is what it is. Stefanski, I mean, he does have the experience to play to be that head coach, but to me, man, it's all going to boil down to that offensive play calling. It seemed to be that one thing that held this team back. We got the players here. We have the players here, bar none. But we have to get the people in place that's going to continue to develop this young team and get them, back into contention. Because truth be told, the Saints are right on our heels, and this division is going to be a lot tighter next season. I guarantee it. It would not be like it is this year.
I'm sure the Panthers continue to thrive off the season, how their season ended. Definitely a great game for them, really, at the end of the year against the LA Rams team. So, Fandemic, the rumor has been that Tommy Rees would follow Kevin Stefanski wherever he was led in this head coach carousel. He obviously lands in Atlanta. Your thoughts on, Tommy Rees, as he did struggle a little bit offensively last year. They did have a lot of quarterback situation. And just overall, your opinion on the quarterback situation in Cleveland. Your thoughts on that with the Kevin Stefanski hire with such a young quarterback and Michael Penix? Your thoughts?
Yeah, my thing is that developmental stage, right? And it's going to be even more important with Michael Penix, because now he's dealing with the injuries, that can, be taxing on the mental aspect of his development stage. So he has to find a way. He has to come in with a game plan, and not let the drama settle back in, like what he's dealing with. He dealt with over in Cleveland, and what is actually still here in Atlanta, with even Kirk Cousins still being here. So not let the negative stuff that's been hampering us over this season become drama filled, right? And that's the whole reason why Matt Ryan was brought in, because obviously Arthur Blank felt like the trust has been broken. There's a lot of things that was going on the field, in the locker room, and under his nose that just was not brought to his attention. And Matt Ryan fills that void. He's going to make sure, at the very least, Arthur Blank knows what's going on, right? So, and people have to look real deep, deeper into why Matt Ryan was brought in. Matt Ryan could be working his way into a bigger position, right? Mm-hmm. Greg Beatles, who's been here 31 years, right? It may be time for him to hang it up. He might be trying to hang it up, because if you saw in the press conference, his demeanor was not as it was in the past, where he was very forthcoming with information. He wasn't so very forthcoming with information in this press conference. So that could mean that he could be being like a leader for Matt Ryan to come in and fill that future vacant at spot, if that's what it is, at the president of football operation, as well as CEO. So it's a good look for Atlanta to bring in the hometown guy. So and Matt Ryan's a smart guy. So you can bring in somebody to fill in and teach the position, right? But it's that leadership aspect. Players listen to Matt Ryan, have listened to Matt Ryan, and respect him. So it's a good move for him, I think. I like the look. I like the look so far.
While we have you here, I'll close it out with one last question for you. I appreciate you joining us tonight here late night at 12:06 with us. It's a pleasure to have you. One last question for you, and you can close it out however you want to close it out. Kirk Cousins' ties to Kevin Stefanski. Obviously, it would be a historical, crazy situation if the Atlanta Falcons even found a way to sign a Kirk Cousins. But just the ties of Kirk Cousins, the decision making before finding the head coach here in Atlanta to give that big lump sum of money to be able to cut Kirk Cousins. Just your thoughts on that, and then overall, what quarterback do you see leading this team under a Kevin Stefanski year one, bridging it until Penix can make it back here in the NFL? As we had Mike Johnson yesterday, and he stated the facts of how, you would have a new scheme learning here in Atlanta. You're going to have somebody else taking those snaps and OTAs early. So that would more likely be your bridge quarterback until Penix gets back in the mix of things. Right. So just your overall thought of that on the quarterback position of a Kevin Stefanski here in Atlanta.
Well, you said it right off. We restructured Kirk Cousins' contract, to where it's actually in our favor. It makes it a whole lot easier to move on from him. It won't be a big cap hit this year, but next year it's going to be a big cap hit. So but they already know that. So it's all a matter of getting Penix ready if he's going to be available. I would like for us to go out and find a journeyman style, a guy that's been here. But it's going to be hard, because I think all the journeyman quarterbacks that are here are actually going to be signed and going to stay. Because a lot of teams I think we had two guys, Tyrod Taylor and a couple of other guys that actually went on into starting positions. So, and they've helped their team. So I think they're going to stay with their team. But now we're going to be out there looking at people like Mac Jones. We're going to be looking at people like what's his name, Will Levis. People like that. But it's going to, hopefully, we'll go out and find somebody that can come in and actually help the quarterback room. We have Easton Stick in there. We have what's the other, Emory Jones. We still have these two guys in there. But you're talking about some expendable guys, But Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to, because of his familiarity with Stefanski, I think he's going to be that starting guy. And it's a good look for him. It's a good fit for him, shall I say. So I think he's going to be that starting guy until Penix comes back. Hopefully Penix is back by the bye week of next season. I wouldn't rush it by no means.
Right. Right. Fandemic, man, it's been a pleasure as always. We got to get a full show with you once the Falcons
sure.
figure out the full staff here in Atlanta. I'll be sure to link up with you, hit your inbox. But
For
Fandemic,
sure.
man, shout out to you, brother. Appreciate you coming through on late nights with DFU. As always, you're welcome to the panel, man. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure, brother. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. We'll see you later, brother. Appreciate you.
Peace.
Falcon fans, Atlanta Falcons fan, do it, man. Check him out on YouTube. Awesome podcaster, Falcon content creator, Atlanta Falcons Fandemic. Always brings great topics to the show, as you've seen there in that little preview clip of Atlanta Falcons Fandemic. Falcon fans, anybody else that wants to join, we'll take one more special guest here tonight to get your thoughts on the hire here in Atlanta. Cody, when you hear the talk about the quarterback position, you hear fans like Atlanta Falcons Fandemic say he believes Kirk Cousins could be the starting quarterback. The cap hit, Cody. Your thoughts? If you was to somehow, and this is going to look bad on the organization for making that decision before they hired the head coach, because now you hired a guy that's played with Kirk Cousins on, I believe, more than 2 to 3 years throughout his career. So, just Cody, your thoughts in chat. We have 57 live viewers right now, man. Y'all get active, hit that like button, leave a comment, and check us out on YouTube, man. We've had like 5 new subscribers after every last live podcast, dude. And you guys have really made this fun throughout this last month of podcasting. So just continue to hit that subscribe button, man. We appreciate y'all. But Cody, your thoughts, brother, quarterback position. I mean, you're a big Kirk Cousins guy. I'm a big Kirk Cousins supporter. I mean, we don't hate Kirk Cousins at DFU. Just your thoughts on if the Falcons did have to pay him that amount of money.
Yeah, and that's my only problem is I know it's not a big deal now, but I think Mike was right after March 14th. What was it? $70 million.
Yes.
And it's just, to me, that doesn't help us at all. Especially with, the guys, you got to find a way to re-sign Tyler. You absolutely have to find a way to bring back Caden Ellis. You've got Big O, you've got, David Amimata is who I'm talking about. There are key guys that you've got to bring back. And unfortunately, I think if Kirk takes that, if we do take that $70 million hit off of Kirk Cousins, it puts a lot of good younger players in jeopardy of not being back here. Like, would I rather see a Kirk Cousins or a Caden Ellis back here? I want Caden Ellis here. Yeah. As much as I like Kirk, I want Caden Ellis here. So that's the only thing that hurts me is, like, as much as I'd like to see Kirk back in a Falcon uniform, especially with him working, I know Matt said that, he's not here to, help, he's not here to be a quarterback's coach. He's not here. But man, can you imagine Kirk Cousins and Matt Ryan feeding off each other? I mean, dude, that would be something. However, I don't see with that $70 million cap hit, Kirk being here at all. I think he'll be gone well before March, and I think we're going to have to rely on a Joe Flacco. We're going to have to find somebody, and we're going to have to find somebody cheap, because I think we've got other pressing needs. Because I mean, like Falcon Fandemic said, I mean, you've got to have something done about our wide receiver room. You've got to have something done in the CB2 section. You got to find that middle linebacker. You've got to find, there are other spots in this team that you could really use $70 million. And on an aging 38-year-old Kirk Cousins, or 38, 37, whatever Kirk Cousins is, I just can't see it. As much as I'd like to see it, I just can't.
Yeah. Cody, one of the things that I've been seeing on Twitter in this short span of the Atlanta Falcons announcing was the fact of Kevin Stefanski having a worse win record the last 2 seasons, only 8 wins in 2 seasons. Cody, your thoughts about, hiring a guy that had a worse winning record than Raheem Morris in Atlanta?
Well, my thing about that is you look at the talent that Raheem Morris, I mean, yeah, so Raheem's record was better than Stefanski's, but look at the talent that Raheem Morris and how hard he flopped with the talent he had compared to what Steve Stefanski had in Cleveland. Like, yeah, he had Nick Chubb, and he had Myles Garrett. But can you name any other Cleveland Brown other than those two? Because I certainly can't. I mean, Shador Sanders, sure. But Njoku. So, I mean, you're talking three guys, but if you're looking here in Atlanta, you got Bijan, you got Tyler, you got Kyle Pitts, possibly if he sticks around. You got a Drake London. You've got,
once a Darnell Mooney. Like, I thought that was going to be the second piece. Like,
I did too
on offense, but it just hadn't been that.
Well, at least this year it wasn't. And
yeah,
I don't know if he's a free agent this year or not, but maybe
cut him, you save money. I believe you save bread.
And you may have to. You very well may have to, and that may be where our second round draft pick is another wide receiver.
Zachariah Branch.
Yes,
football gods. If there's any way that you can make Zachariah Branch slide out the first round and possibly number 10, round 2, I believe that's where we pick. I have to check that, but Zachariah Branch, man, if there's any way he slides, dude. There's been rumors that Tyreek Hill wants to come back to the South and play football. So he wants to come home. I would take a freshly, revamped Tyreek Hill after the injury.
Yeah,
in Atlanta with Drake London.
I used to work with his aunt, so maybe I need to get on the phone.
Give her a call and tell her DFU would gladly support it.
Yeah, definitely have him here. And maybe that's something that brings him home. Because I did work with her. I told her, I was like, talk him into coming to Atlanta. And she goes, well, he's thought about, he's kind of thought about, being back in the area. So maybe, I mean, I'm not opposed to it.
Loved, I would. It would. We got a comment here from Tan May Gupta. I hope I said that name correct. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Glad to have you here in the comment section. Hit that like button. Ring the bell. It says he was the only person available with experience and can run a confident offense. Kubiak only had one good offense this season. He sucked with the Saints and the Vikings. Pray Kevin can develop Michael Penix. So, I mean, yeah, that's the goal. If you can develop Michael Penix and get him back into this play action style offense that all of the good coaches run, the Kyle Shanahans that just got absolutely BTA tonight against the Seattle Seahawks, the Matt LaFleur's, the McDonald, what's his name, buddy from the Dolphins, Mike McDaniels. No, Mike McDaniel. What's his name? Miami's head coach just got fired.
Mike McDaniels.
Mike McDaniels. So, I mean, those type of style of offense is what you should expect, I think, out of Stefanski and whoever.
Oh, well, I guess Chase is dropped out. That would be great. That'd be great for the Atlanta Falcons. I know that Mike McDaniels, maybe not as a head coach is not exactly a great option because just kind of watch his press conferences and stuff like that. A little awkward, a little weird, but you're good. I got you. But Mike McDaniels, like Fandemic was saying, was the offensive coordinator position is going to be key, and I think that's one of the good things is Mike McDaniels has got a great relationship with Matt Ryan, and he said that he, under the right circumstance, he wouldn't mind being an offensive coordinator. We've interviewed him. Maybe that's the move that the Falcons make because as much as I, like I was just saying, as much as I don't like him as a head coach and, he's kind of quirky
Cody,
as a head coach.
You don't expect for Stefanski to call his own plays in Atlanta?
I don't. I think at this point, I really think the better move is to let him do head coaching stuff and keep his hands, maybe be involved in the offense, but not take on too much. I think
I agree, but I agree to an extent. What you're speaking on. It's just the fact that it seems like the new trend in the NFL is as soon as an offensive coordinator has a great season, everybody's calling for you to be their head coach. And we have experienced that already with Atlanta, and Atlanta took that on a toll for quite a few seasons since that's happened. Just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, and again, it kind of boils down to we've just not been very consistent, and I think that's something that we want to fix. But I think with an offensive, minded guy like that, maybe, I don't know. It is tough because I don't want to see Michael Penix go through what Matt Ryan did, where you've got an offensive coordinator every other 2 years. I don't want to see that anymore. I'm tired of that. I'm tired of, having to learn a new system, learn a new scheme, especially with Michael Penix just developing. Because at least Matt had
years.
He had at least 4 years with his first. What was his name? I drew a blank on his name, but he had before before it started changing a bunch. So I can't see Stefanski calling his own offense, but I still think you need an offensive coordinator. Obviously to kind of run that side of it, whether that be a guy that's just kind of a yes man, or just a guy that knows, hey, I know what you want to run, I know what you want to play. Just give me somebody in here that's competent, that can complement the run and pass game. Because like Mike was saying the other night, like it still kind of blows my mind that we had one guy calling run plays and one guy calling pass plays. Like, to me, that's not a great recipe for success. And obviously it wasn't for us. So I definitely want to see that gone, but it's going to get interesting for sure when it comes to who's running, who's calling plays and doing that kind of thing.
Absolutely. Cody, I'm sure tomorrow there will be a lot more that's been released as far as grading the Atlanta Falcons head coach hire, rumors that have been heard of who the OC could be in Atlanta, if there is any candidates for DC that they possibly may look at. So DFU will be live again tomorrow, possibly after lunch sometime. Expect maybe around 1:30ish. DFU will come live again with more co-hosts to break down this Atlanta Falcons head coaching hire for 2026 and 4 years after that to come. The Atlanta Falcons signed Kevin Stefanski to the head coaching position here in Atlanta. The OC waiting to hear what that may be. Cody, so give your shout-outs for tonight, bro, as we'll be back with it again. I guess you could say today, as it is 12:20 a.m. So I guess you could say we'll be live again today at 1:30 p.m. around that time, speaking Falcon football and this hire here in Atlanta. Cody, your thoughts, and give a big shout out to whatever you want to shout out tonight. Shout out to you, Cody, for pushing the fact that we should hit this fast. To all 63 viewers that are watching tonight, man, we appreciate y'all. Hit that like button, subscribe, head to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. Cody, shout outs for tonight, bro.
No, shout out to you coming on and doing this till 12:20. I know I was pushing for it. I'm just so excited for this offseason, man. It's just like, I know content will probably get a little slow here. So it's just like, man, Falcons made a move. Like I was just ready to go. But that's just a fan in me, that is just so ready to talk Falcon football all the time. So shout out to you coming on and doing this thing. I like, when you and I get to do shows together, we get to bounce off of each other. So, so shout out to you, obviously shout out to God, woke us up this morning. We got to talk Falcon football. Big shout out to Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan, just keep making moves. Don't listen to, I'm sure he doesn't, but, don't listen to people that are going to doubt this. And you've got a vision for this football team. Yeah. Follow that vision, be consistent with it. And I'm sure great things are, going to come. Shout out to, the viewers that are up this late, with DFU, doing a late night with DFU, talking Falcon football, commenting, watching, viewing, because without y'all, there is no us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to drop your hashtag DFU, because we do have a, giveaway going on. We got 3 things, the Falcon hoodie,
a Julio Jones bobblehead, and a Atlanta Falcons flag, man.
Yes, sir.
All you have to be is subscribe for free on YouTube and a hashtag DFU and a live content video like this. So all you have to do is hashtag DFU, be subscribed. I take the names down. We're at like 12 names right now. We want to get the list around. My goal was 30 people. I want to have at least 30 people on this entry before we do the raffle. So let's get 30 hashtags for DFU, 30 plus, and we will do the raffle very soon after we reach that number. Cody, man, shout out to you for being here tonight, dog, staying up this late to talk some Dirty Bird football. Breaking news with DFU as the Atlanta Falcons have made this head coach hire. Big shout out to all 63 viewers tonight, whether that's from YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter. Shout out to you guys for being here and supporting DFU as we bring you this coverage of the new hire in Atlanta, as there will be a lot more content to come with new rumors and new hires as far as offensive coordinator position here in Atlanta. Possibly new special teams. Haven't heard anything about that, Cody. So I'm sure that's more to come as well. That'll be another thing the Falcons must address. So exciting news. The Atlanta Falcons make that decision, chop the chance for him to make the hire in Tennessee and say, hey, you're the guy for the job. Kevin Stefanski, the new hire here in Atlanta. Falcon fans, it's been a great show. Appreciate you guys for coming through. Cody, as always, man, it's been a fun time talking Falcon football. As we always say here at DFU, man, A-Town down, rise up. We out of here, man. Peace, y'all. Hit that like.